Undefeated lightweight prospect Anthony Romero. How you doing today, man? I know that you've been on lockdown or stay-at-home order lately. How's life right now?
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it with my family. And yeah, what more can you ask for? Nice sunny day here. And yeah, loving life.
Has anything opened up recently, or has it been the same the whole time?
This week, I believe they started opening up parks. There's some stores that are open, but still under supervision. Like they're still watching how many people go in the stores and stuff like that. But other than that, everything's pretty much the same. Trips to Walmart and that's it.
All right. Well, I see that you've been doing some teaching online via Zoom. How has that experience been? It must be kind of weird, right? When you're at home alone and then they're at home alone and you guys are you're trying to, what is it, motivate them to do what they need to do.
Yeah. At first, it was a little bit awkward. I didn't really know how to approach it because I've never done something like that before. All I know is like how to coach, and that's pretty much it. So trying to motivate someone there when I'm physically not there is tough, but I found my way to actually do it, and people are loving it. They're enjoying it. I'm getting more and more clients. So yeah, it's been good so far.
Maybe that's something that you could continue doing, right? Because doing it from home is pretty convenient.
Yeah. I really enjoy it, especially if there's people that are not in the area. I would love to train with them. Someone who can't make the trip down to the gym. So yeah, I'm open to that. We'll see what the future holds.
Definitely, definitely. Well, you need to have multiple incomes in this sport or in this game
Yeah.
that you're involved in. Now, I want to go back to the Canadian National Kickboxing Team. That experience, of being a striker from such a young age. How has that translated for you in the cage?
It's been a great transition. I'm sure you know my story, and a lot of people watching this probably know my story. That I started with martial arts throughout my whole life, and going through that experience specifically in that sport, it helped me develop my stand up. Not having the option to take someone down, or even just competing in a specific rule set where you're allowed to throw knees and you're not allowed to throw knees. So just learning the discipline that it takes to understand the rule set, I think that helped me a lot. And obviously, like I said, being forced to follow those rules, it makes a big difference. So
Could all traveling around with the national team and competing in different countries, that's probably prepared you for just being in front of people, right? Because a lot of people, they can do really well in the gym, but when they get in front of people, it's like any sport, right? Some guys are good on the
Mhm.
basketball court at the park, but when they get into the gym where there's a crowd, they can't perform.
Exactly. I can't remember. I think it might have been Allen Iverson. I could be wrong, but he's like, we're talking about practice. Like
Yeah.
practice is practice, right? And it's totally different. Under the lights, it's different. Taking that trip, maybe even facing a different time zone, it's different. You have to acclimatize to where you are. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience. I never won any championship except the Pan Americans for Jiu Jitsu. But stuff like that, I think it's crucial for athletes to experience, especially in the UFC. If you're going to some other country, you don't recognize the area. Stuff like that helps you develop as an athlete and how to better prepare yourself for those moments.
Yeah, those experiences from a young age, and when people look at your record, they see 7-0. That's all they see, really. Though they only see 7 fights, but really you have all this experience, right? And that kind of could give proof to people that don't believe that you're ready for the big stage.
Exactly. I've had about 10 amateur fights in MMA, and then my jiu-jitsu experience on top of my kickboxing experience, taekwondo competitions. So I've been doing this for a long time, and yeah, just 7-0. But there's a lot of hard work that's been done behind the scenes.
Explain who Patrick Cote is to you.
He was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Him and Anderson Silva, because that was the one of the first fights I've seen in the UFC, and and then from then on, I went back to day one to UFC one, and all the way I've been a big fan of the sport, and obviously I enjoy it myself. So watching that fight really, it changed my mindset on what I want to do. I always wanted to be a professional athlete. I played soccer all my life, and I live in Canada, and it's kind of tough to be successful in that sport. So training martial arts my whole life, I saw that there's a path to become a professional athlete, and that's what happened. I saw that fight, and I changed my training. I stopped Taekwondo, even though it's an important martial arts to train. But seeing that people are training wrestling and strict boxing and kickboxing, all that stuff, it opened my eyes to better prepare myself for what I want to do.
After that fight, I saw that you went to the gym, an MMA gym. What was that? What was that gym?
Yeah, so it was just here, a local gym is called Modern Vision MMA. Big shout out to them. I'm no longer with them, but you always thank people who bring you into the sport. And yeah, I started there, and we would do jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, everything you need to know. And yeah, so it was a great experience. And going there, it was a little bit different because all these people know these different martial arts. It's not just a strict Taekwondo gym or strict karate. Like, people know all different things. And going in there was a different experience. I was training with the kids class at that time. I believe I was like 13 or 14. And I was pushed to the adult class. And from then on, I really enjoyed it. People complimented me and said, "Oh, you're doing well. You should keep this up." And all those positive, all that positive input really motivated me to do something great.
Eventually, you moved on and went to a bigger gym. You have two gyms now, right? You have Niagara Top Team and Parabellum MMA. Talk about stepping into those gyms for the first time. It's always interesting to see how fighters react to a new environment.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I started at Parabellum MMA. I trained with Matthew Marcantonio, who's the co-owner of Niagara Top Team, and I was training with Chris Prickett, my wrestling coach. But that was before they had their actual gym. So I started training at Parabellum MMA, and the knowledge there is never ending. I'm always humbled and sparring and in my rounds and everything. Coaches they're not yes men. They're trying to make you the best you can be, so they don't just agree with what you're doing or everything. There's always challenges in the gym. I think this is better. I think this is better. But at the end of the day, we all agree, and that's why I've been successful so far, because of those guys and their knowledge. So, like I said, humbled and sparring, but it shows in my fights.
You carry the undefeated record, and people would signify that as a easy road. You know what I mean? Because they just see the zero that you never lost. But there's a lot of obstacles, right? So, what are some of the moments inside the cage that have improved you, but they were difficult times in those 7 fights?
I believe moments where it didn't go my way. Prior to my last fight, I fought a tough guy, and everything was going well. But the second round, he caught me in this. I believe, I can't remember exactly, but it was like a Darce or Anaconda, and everyone went silent. I remember that moment, and I fought out of it. Thankfully, I got out of it. I ended up winning that fight. But I learned from that, even though I won. A lot of people say that you learn from your losses, which is true, but you can also learn from your wins. You look back and you see what went wrong. And if you ask my coach, Chris Prickett, he sees me do that exact setup. So I learned from that moment, and I've been catching a lot of people in the gym with it. And now it's to the point where it doesn't work anymore because I've been doing it so many times. So I have to find ways to set it up. And that's how you develop as an athlete. Another loss that happened was in my amateur career. I lost to a wrestler. He competed for the Ohio Wrestling University or college, and he was a great athlete. And I learned from that. And that was before I even trained wrestling. I met Chris Prickett, and I've been training with the Brock Wrestling Team and developing my wrestling skills. And yeah, so that's I guess a few examples of how I developed as a fighter.
That moment of the crowd going silent, is it like in the movies where it's like you could hear your heartbeat and you're like very close?
Yeah, it's hard to describe when you're not actually in there, but it's pretty much, it felt silent. You don't know what's gonna happen next. You can fight out of it, you might not feel it, and then next thing the referee is trying to wake you up, or you get out of it. So it was just a weird moment. I'm glad everything went well. I fought out of it, and yeah, so I'm very thankful.
Definitely. Now, your last fight, you won the title at the start of the pandemic, which most people haven't even got a chance to fight this year. Was that
Yeah.
an odd environment surrounding the event?
Um, I think at that time people didn't really know what was going on. They heard things here and there. Some states had it, some states didn't. So I don't think at that time people really took it seriously. Like if you look outside now, people are walking around with masks. At that time, people didn't really, I guess, have much knowledge about it. So I know there was rumors that they're going to move the event, and then they had talks about not having a crowd, and then later, I believe the weekend after, the UFC actually canceled their event. So I was very thankful that I was able to compete in that one of the last events for this year, pretty much, and yeah, it was I guess nerve wracking because I really wanted to fight. I'm so close to that next step, and I would be behind if I didn't get that opportunity. So yeah, very thankful.
Knowing what you know now about the virus, when you look back at that experience, you're like, man, what were people thinking? Like just walking around, right?
Yeah, it was nuts. I know, like a lot of people were telling me, be careful who you shake hands with, and like even after the fight, you go and shake the coach's hands. People hug you on the way out and stuff like that. So it's just hard to think of. Like you think like don't shake that person's hand, but it's just natural instinct to just reach your hand out and be like, yeah, it's so weird just to pull your hand away. It feels disrespectful. So at that time, I did it anyways. Like I shook hands just out of pure reaction. Um, and now that I look back, I'm like, wow, I'm so lucky that nothing happened to me or even anybody that came to watch the fight. I don't know what they're doing. People are going to the public bathrooms and all that. So yeah, it's weird to think back that experience happened.
That fight, it only lasted 58 seconds, so it's a pretty impressive. It's almost like a shutout in baseball, I guess. You go in there and they don't get anything on you. Do you feel like that was a performance that you could show like the brass at many organizations and say, hey, this is what I'm capable of, and even better than this, you need to sign me.
Yeah, that's it's a statement that I put out there for the UFC that I can do this. I can stand with the best. I can knock people out. I can tap people out. When I first started in my pro career, people were looking at all the decisions I had, and yeah, it sucked. They were dominant decisions, but in reality, people don't really want to watch that. They want to see people go to sleep. Um, and I started working with Parabellum and Niagara Top Team, and like I said, they've been making me a better athlete, and I've been getting those finishes, whether it's a submission or a knockout, and yeah, just making statements. And I'm glad that my last one was just a minute, no damage. I didn't get cut. I don't think I got kicked. So I didn't even feel like I fought the next day.
Maybe you could have fought like twice that night. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, maybe a big tournament or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess it readies you for that if that ever comes up in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back to when you were blocked by King of the Cage from competing on the Contender Series, last year. Having someone take that from you, did it change your outlook on the business side of MMA?
Yeah, I have a lot of training partners that ask me about that. They ask me, like, especially some of them are starting as a professional, and they're like, "Oh, should I sign with this person?" And I always say, like, read the contract, read what's there, because you don't know what kind of stuff they can twist on you. And that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't really have any experience. Like I read the contract and stuff like that, but I didn't know that that was an actual possibility that they could keep me for pretty much forever and not have me compete if they don't want me to and all that. And I'd be going against contract if I did otherwise. So I learned from it, and I guess things happen for a reason. It gave me more time to develop as an athlete, and I'm getting better and better. So it just gives me more time. So it's all good. I'm still young.
Yeah, well, after that happened, you knocked off three in a row, so it's all good for King of the
Yeah,
Cage, right?
yeah, for sure. Like I guess it makes them look better that I had all these fights with them and everything. And that's not to say that there's bad blood between us. Like I'm thankful they had me start my career with them, and they treated me well. I had ticket sales with them. They helped me and my family with fights and everything. So yeah, they've done well. Obviously, that happened, and it's a new day. So move on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's I think that story every fighter needs to know about, that incident
Hmm.
because contracts are contracts, you know what I mean? You got to read them. I see a lot of fighters
Yeah,
that they don't even know what's in the contract. They just sign it because it's has some money on it.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I'm thankful. I like my manager Matthew
Mm.
Dodge, and he's been helping me so much, making sure that things are happening for me. People are treating me well. He's been making huge moves with sponsorships, and yeah, I'm thankful that I met up with him and he gave me this interview with you. So yeah,
Yeah, man, definitely shout out to Matt. And yeah, that's what managers are for, man. You got to get them to get you money. That's what that's what you need. You need money to trade, man. You can't just sit
yeah,
there and do
for
nothing.
sure.
Yeah, right. Now, I think that they lifted the travel ban to the states. If you're gonna work, I guess there was something that changed with the travel ban with for athletes in the United States, so you can fly into the U.S. if you're from a foreign country to compete. So I guess you're ready to go. You know what I mean? I don't think they're gonna have a show in Canada anytime soon. So are you looking to just hop on any show? You know what I mean? Short notice. Is that the outlook you have?
Uh, my goal is the UFC. I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
so close. I heard talks that the Contender Series is coming up and all that. I don't know the details in with that or anything. And I know they're having cards coming up at the Apex and for the UFC and all that. So I'm down to jump on a card like that, or Fight Island, wherever they have the fight. I'm ready. I've been training. And yeah, like I'm ready to go. I proved my statement last time, and yeah,
All right. Well, one last thing. It seems like whenever there's a young prospect, a Canadian prospect, they always want to compare him or her to GSP. It's like the automatic thought in their brain if you follow the sport. Chasing the legacy of GSP, do you think that fans are too obsessed with that, like comparing fighters with him?
I think so. I think we need to like. There's no disrespect to him. Like he's been a great athlete. He's one of my favorite MMA fighters. But he's had his time, just like Muhammad Ali had his time, Mike Tyson had his time, and it's time to to make something new, to make something better, right? And there's a lot of Canadian athletes. I'm one of them that can get to that next level. And yeah, so I'm excited for what the future holds. I'm excited to show um, my nation that I can do this. I can prove that Canadians have the best MMA fighters. And yeah, I'm ready for the next step.
All right, Anthony, man, appreciate the time, and hopefully you do get signed in the next couple of months because they seem like they're putting on shows back to back to back, and they need to fill them up, right? So why not have someone that's close by fly in and fight? So, man,
Yeah,
hopefully
for
it
sure.
happens. Yeah, hopefully it happens for you, and continue, doing what you do and be safe.
Thank you so much, you as well, and thank you for this interview.